Hello, everyone. This is Steve Lentini, and welcome to my podcast, Different Thinking for Different Times. I'm your host, and this is the fifth season, and I believe it's episode 9. So we've been around a long time, and I'm grateful for the audience and grateful for the fact that people in 19 countries have listened. So I'm hoping we can expand that today. I'm not sure if Norway is included, but my guest today, my very special guest, and I'm going to encourage you to read some of his work and consider your own answers, right? Who's going to question your answers? We've talked about that. But I have as a guest Dr. Torkil Faero. He's from Norway. That's not how they say it in Norwegian, by the way. And maybe he'll tell you. I don't know. We'll see. But he's written a number of books, and one of them I really loved, the Pulse Cure, and that led me to read the Camera Cure. And I'm going to urge you to consider it, right? You know, I never say follow anyone or anything blindly. Prove it to yourself, and then you own it. And he's got some interesting work that I think for our own health and our own care, even when it comes to the mental aspects, and especially the mental aspects of it, helping us build that authentic presence and living in the now, all the things that we have talked about back and forth. And so I'm going to let Dr. Torkil, who's an MD, tell you more about his life and about both of those books, and I'm going to ask him a lot of questions, so please be patient. Dr. Torkil.
Thank you, Steve. So nice to be here, even if I'm in Norway and you're in Staten Island.
The
So
miracle
it's
of this, right? The
yeah,
new
it's a
age.
miracle we can talk to each other, and across the whole Atlantic, and with no delay in our answers and so on.
No, I'm
Um,
grateful for it.
so just to explain a little bit about myself, my name is Torkil Faero, as I would say in Norwegian. It's Faroe, like in the Faroe Islands. I'm a doctor. I've been working as a doctor for 25 years, all around the country, all around Norway. I work in the north. I'm just back from a 2 week work on call in above the Arctic Circle, which is also
Wow.
for me, exotic, and I learned so much being in like a fisherman's villages and living a life that is very different from where I
Wow.
live in Oslo, the capital.
Mm-hmm.
So. And through the years, I've been working as a freelance doctor, working all over the country. So I've seen 50,000 different patients,
Wow.
which is like 1% of the population in Norway that I have, examined. So
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of what makes people sick and also what makes them healthy. And part of what I've seen is because I've been an instructor in photographic workshops. I've seen also not only the sick people, but also the very healthy people, the very active, the very devoted, the very, you know, people with a lot of meaning in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think if I only worked as a doctor, I would only see half the situation. So I've also seen, okay, what makes you very healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason why I wrote the camera cure, because I saw that probably patients could learn a lot from photographers, because
Mm-hmm.
the way that you approach taking a picture is the same way you approach any problem or any opportunity. So you can translate the way to do things in life
Mm-hmm.
from how to take a picture.
Yeah,
So
and I'm fascinated with that. And you mentioned, the looking at the difference between healthy people and sick people, and that in the camera cure, part of it helped people become more grounded, right, and to find ways to appreciate life. That was something that I noted in the camera cure, and you'll tell us if it's in the pulse cure as well. I believe it is. But
yeah,
tell me about what
yeah.
you did, some of your work led you to in the camera cure. What did you discover?
In the camera cure, I discovered that my own love of photography, when I started to kind of dissect it or to find out why do I love it, I just found that it's what we are made to do. to hunt, to hunt for images, to gather images, and to share images with other people. See what have you found and what did you find. So that I've always been particularly interested in photographic workshops, where you are together with 15, 20 other photographers, and the energy of going out hunting for images and coming back and sharing, it's just felt very, very meaningful. And so I started to try to find out, yeah, what is it? And then, of course, hunting, gathering is what our nervous system is made to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I became interested in the nervous system, and the pulse cure was kind of an extension of that when I saw that, okay, our autonomic nervous system, our very basic ancient system, that we share with the reptiles and all other vertebrates, has a lot more effect on our lives than we knew. Also, more than I knew as a doctor, that the balance in the autonomic nervous system is crucial for good health. It's like the base, the fundamental base of our health, And that has been overlooked pretty much by the medical society. A lot because we haven't had any measure of it. There is no lab test, or we haven't had it. But now we have something called heart rate variability, which is a measure of the state in the autonomic nervous system that you can, that I have a Garmin watch, I have an Oura ring, I have a Whoop band, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that tells me about the state of the nervous system, and that has given me a lot of surprises, in the 3 years that I've been using this actively, and doing research to present in the book The Pulse Cure. So the Pulse Cure, unfortunately, still only in Norwegian. Hopefully, it will be soon translated into English for everyone to read. And in Norway has been on the best-selling charts now for 34 weeks. It was released in January, and it's still like number 3 or 4 on the best-selling charts. So it's changing a lot of people's lives, because when you measure this and you see the results, you can more easily adapt and find rest. Because often what you thought was restful proved you were not down enough in the restful state.
Mm-hmm. Well, so there's two things I'm going to ask you. What do you do when you notice a change in your pulse rate, right, from your devices? What's your process? Because it must help you then. It must be a great reminder.
Yeah, yeah. Often I will see if I'm too stressed out. I will do a breathing exercise, or exercise. It's just to breathe slower. Maybe breathe in for like 4 seconds and breathe out for 6 seconds. That calms it down. And then other things I can use as well is like cold showers. So being cool in the temperature inside, or with a cold shower, or going into the ocean has really a restorative effect on the body. I'm not sure if you have heard of Wim Hof, the Iceman they call him.
No.
It's a strategy that the cold will affect our nervous system and cool us down, and to the heart rate goes down, you feel more quiet, calm. Even if the cold in itself, when you're in the cold shower or in the cold water, you can feel tense. Afterwards, it kind of lowers the state of the autonomic nervous system.
And what was the name of that work again that you mentioned about the cold?
Wim Hof. So
Wim Hof.
Dutch Wim Hof. It's called the Iceman. So
The
so
Iceman.
he's
I'm going to make
the
a note
Iceman.
of that.
Yeah. So he was the one who found out this by himself, and now years later, maybe probably 20 years later, the research is catching up and see that, yeah, you're right, it dampens inflammation. So heat actually increases inflammation, and
Mm-hmm.
the cold dampens inflammation. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the chronic diseases that we are struggling with in the modern society is inflammation based. It's a state of chronic inflammation that gives heart disease, cancer, dementia, diabetes, all this, a lot of autoimmune diseases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's
and
what you're saying, like different thinking for different times, so that our modern times, the way we live our lives is almost in every aspect the opposite of what we are evolutionary made for.
mm-hmm.
So what we have to do is we have to think back a bit to push our lives a little bit towards what we naturally are surrounded with, nature, light, sun, movement,
Mm-hmm.
this, yeah.
Well, you mentioned stress, and is stress, do you think, related to uh, the underlying cause of a lot of these things? Because a lot of well, you had two ideas about stress. One was that there was some optimal levels of stress, and then there was the not so optimal. And so, if you want to talk
Mm.
about that a little bit, because I found that fascinating.
Yeah, stress, we are made for a certain amount of stress.
That's what I found fascinating.
Our ancestors that succeeded to reproduce, to make us, we are actually, the miracle is that we are the result of like 1.5 billion years of reproductional success. If one of those people in our lineage had failed, we would not be here. So just being here is a miracle. So we stem from the very first cell that divided. All of us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
animals, plants,
Mm-hmm.
anything. And they survived through being able to stress, to do hard things. So we are made for stress. But we are not. We are made also to relax, to recuperate, to be restored.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem now that we are on all the time, we are too much stressed. We are not letting our bodies calm down enough to repair, to because when we're stressed, the body, the immune system thinks that okay, this guy is in trouble. We don't have time to fix all the small stuff here now. We have to make sure that he survives this fight. He doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
this. I call it a fossil. I call it it's a living fossil that we still struggle with. In our brain stem and in our primitive parts of the brain. It's like a living
Mm-hmm.
fossil that
Mm-hmm.
does not know that I'm stressed because of a deadline, or I'm stressed because of somebody is more popular than me on Instagram, or is giving a bad comment. This ancient system just interprets it as I'm in danger, and we
Mm-hmm.
have to protect this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And because the immune system is working better when we are resting at night,
Mm-hmm.
and from until 5, 10,000 years ago, we at night nothing happened. It
Mm-hmm.
was cold, it was dark, it was like
Mm-hmm.
12 hours where the body was calm in a
Mm-hmm.
state to now we sleep, maybe 6 hours, a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
uh, we we eat too long part of the day. We eat breakfast and then we eat all the way until the evening. And we're
Mm-hmm.
just not made for that. So the intestines, the GI system, gastrointestinal system is not getting enough time to repair. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for example, they think that 10% of the cells in our GI in our digestive system needs to
Mm-hmm.
be replaced or repaired every day.
Wow.
So if we are eating too long part of the day, and at night time, it's maybe only 6 hours without food in the system, it's not enough. So we get this inflammation
How
that
how
stems from
long
this
how
body. Yeah.
long is optimal between
The
meals, especially
optimal,
at night?
yeah, the optimal is to eat. It is not 7-Eleven, but 11-7. It's to
Okay.
start eating at 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
finish eating at maybe 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have like a 8 hour eating window, and
Mm-hmm.
then you would have a 16 hours of a fasting window,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the food that you ate at 7 o'clock is still in the system, 11 o'clock, so
Mm-hmm.
so the intestines will have like a 12-hour real calm to do its
Mm-hmm.
job.
Mm-hmm.
And this amount of time will even with a bad, American standard diet or Western standard diet, it will
Mm-hmm.
make up a lot of that, for that. So it will keep you healthy even if your diet is suboptimal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's fascinating because my pancreas shut down 20 years ago, 21, almost 21 years ago, in the middle of a seminar. And
Okay.
I can tell you, as I think back to what you're saying, I had stress because I had started my own training business. And the idea in my head was it was a license for another company's work, kind of like a franchise, but I think they found their way around that idea with a license until the government said, no, no, it's a franchise. But while I was licensed, there were no franchise laws. And it became stressful because they had minimums, they had monthly fees. In order to keep the license, you had to do a certain minimum. You had to sell a certain amount of materials. Anyway, so I was stressed, but I can tell you, I didn't give anywhere near that amount of time. I was given like 4 hours between meals, and I was eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And my pancreas shut down with a calcium blockage. Now, you're a doctor, so you know the first thing they asked me was, do you drink a lot? And how many times have you had pancreatitis? I said, I never had it. And they were just bewildered as to what was going on. Now, it led to 100 days in the hospital,
Oh,
60
wow.
days straight, and 40 out of the next 60 before they could do a necrotomy. But in between, of course, I had a near death experience that people that are listening to the podcast know about on the fifth day. I flatlined. But I can tell you, as you talk, then that calcium deposit, it turns out I have a calcium blockage in the duct of my pancreas. My pancreas didn't have any time to recover.
Mm. Yeah. It was working all the time, and not enough time and probably a lot of carbs, a lot of work
Oh,
for the pancreas, to
oh yeah.
do,
Yeah, the
mo
quick
more
meals,
than
4 hours,
more,
stop. Yeah.
yeah, more than it's made for, So it's an overtaxed system, and I'm sure that if you at that time had these instruments, they would, alarm, alarm, alarm. You're running at 150 miles an hour. You need to break down, or you should break before you break down. So it's immensely valuable instruments. These the way that they can watch your pulse, because the pulse will say so much about the internal state, because
Hmm.
you are busy with living your life, you were busy making your business go around, you didn't have
Hmm.
time to feel inside, or
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
adjust.
Hmm.
At that time, probably just some adjustments with the sleep, food, could have calmed down the whole situation, so.
Well, it did lead to a miracle, which I'm grateful for every day.
Mm. Yeah.
And if I had another life, I'd probably say, if I was that stuck, I would probably say, if that's what it took to wake me up in life, I would ask for it again,
Mm.
and maybe just a few days,
Yeah, yeah.
not 100 days, and 6 months out of work. But so, what do you recommend from the study? 'Cause I'm so fascinated because my head is filled with. There's the devices that help you, but it reminds you to get grounded, breathe, take a break, right? To get back
Yeah.
to a relaxed state, which, you know, this thing has got people looking at it 24/7.
Yeah.
But it also led to states of what I would say the authentic states. I mean, you talked about finding a calling, right? And finding
Mm.
the work that you loved. And years ago, you went to the doctor. That wasn't the first thing they asked you. Are you doing work that you love? Have you found your calling? And we're still
Mm.
not doing that. So
Yeah.
talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that aspect of it, which to me is metaphysical and it's
Mm.
physical. You know, I tell people
Yeah.
when they say doctors are not divine, it's not from God, I'm going to heal myself with God. There's nothing that's not divine in my experience, right? Being on the other side, nothing is not divine. And to have inspired doctors and people in the medical profession that are willing to learn and grow and come up with new ideas following perhaps their prompts and their calling, to help others. I mean, there's nothing more divine than that, in my opinion. But talk about some of the other things that you discovered and or recommend.
Yeah, what I often discovered was that people who were sick, who were depressed, if you ask them, yeah, what do you like to do? What is like you feel like your purpose in life? What
Hmm.
makes your heart beat faster?
Hmm.
With excitement, and they often didn't have that. They would have to think for a long time about what do I want to do. They were they couldn't answer this, and then as I noticed that I saw that people who had a lot of meaning and purpose in life, they were more healthy. I would rather tend to find them in the photographic workshop than in the doctor's office. So you saw that
I
these
love
two,
that.
I see these people here and these people here the next week. That when I'm working as a doctor. So I just found that finding a purpose, finding your meaning in life is healthy.
Yeah.
It's and not finding it and living by other people's meanings, doing what the other people like is their agenda and not yours. That's really unhealthy.
Mm.
So the most unhealthy people, they are living under other people's demands, the
Yeah.
society's demands and not their own. So
Yeah.
so just finding out what is your purpose? What you have probably 80, if you're average, you have like 80 years to live. How what do you fill them with?
At
So
71, I'm hoping it's a few more than that, but I
yeah.
didn't. The first time it occurred, where I was 1 second here and the next second gone, I was given no forewarning. I was given no notice, right? The
Mm.
universe didn't say, "Today,
Yeah.
Steve, is your day. You're coming home."
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I've witnessed flatliners in my office,
hmm.
they're
Hmm.
just gone. They're just talking to you, and then the next second they're gone. There's no warning. They're suddenly lying on the floor,
Wow.
and then of course we have our ways to get them back,
Hmm. Hmm.
and if when I see it, they're usually fast enough to get them started again, if you're
Hmm.
in the hospital.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, you get no warning, suddenly you're and we never have any guarantees. I might be dead tomorrow, so I might not wake up, So every morning that you wake up and breathe, this is a good day, it's a
It's a
miracle.
good day, right?
So the miracle is not something supernatural, The miracle is that your body is working. That all the processes inside our bodies at any given moment, the millions of metabolic transactions, the hormones, everything is working.
Hmm.
That's a miracle. You don't have to look for miracles. They're all over.
Well, and you wrote about that when we're doing what we love, something that takes us away from the moment that we're so fully into, it actually helps our hormones. Talk about
Mm.
that.
Yeah, so a lot of people who are sick, they get very self-absorbed. They're inside their own brains, in their own minds, in their own problems, fill up their whole world. And just going out with a camera, looking outside to what's in the external world, you can't, the mind is so nice, you can't do the both at the same time. You can't go out photographing for something and still remember or think about some frustration,
Hmm. Hmm.
so at least for that time that you're out photographing something, this acorn that you talk about, it's out of the question, it's gone, for that time, and that has some value.
And
So,
in the Pulse Cure, you also mentioned some of the benefits of things that I guess would say take us out of that brain.
mhm.
So talk about what you found in the Pulse Cure and what you're finding, because I'm sure your research is ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ongoing, and especially now with all the people contacting me after the success of the book, I get an insight, a glimpse of so many people's nervous systems, and also that, and that's very important, that everybody's nervous system is different. So that's also what the medical profession is doing a lot of wrong, because they're going after averages. And
Yeah.
when we use these instruments, we see that we're not average, So what would help the average person is not necessarily what would help you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a way to individualize what is working for you and what is not working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And what we find is that when we thought we were relaxing, there was another level beneath that. It was another restful level. It's another league, it's
And how do people
beneath that
reach
level.
that next level, that other league down below what we think is
Mm.
resting?
It often takes more time, It often
Mm-hmm.
takes that you slow down, really,
Mm-hmm.
and that but just by sleeping more, just by
Mm-hmm.
sleeping 7 to 8 hours of restful sleep,
Mm-hmm.
that's the first chapter of the post cure.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's the basis. So good sleep
Mm-hmm.
will do a lot of things, and
Mm-hmm.
the next is enough movement. And I'm not talking exercise, because movement is enough. That you don't sit the whole day, that you make sure that you move, maybe every half hour or so for a
Mm-hmm.
minute or two, just to get the fluids going, because the heart, the lymph system, the circulation is made for a certain amount of help. It
Mm-hmm.
was not evolved for hunter-gatherers sitting down or lying down around the clock, So it's
Should we
if
both get
it,
up and walk around our chair now to set a good
yeah,
example?
yeah, we should.
Let's do it.
Um, let's do it. Yeah,
We're walking around our
yeah,
chair.
yeah, yeah. So
I
that's good. It's
well,
important. Yeah. So now we
so
help.
many people today don't, and now there's
And they
there's
don't.
working from home, so they're sitting in front of
Yeah,
their computer for hours.
yeah, and that's also what the watch will say move, and
Hmm.
the
Oh, I
ring
love
will be
that.
a bit more polite. It will say, "Is it
Hmm.
time to stretch your legs a bit?" So it's a bit more. This is a bit more move, he says. With a
Hmm.
move
I like that.
yeah. So
Now,
because
where
you
do
have
you
to
get
move.
the ring? Where do you get the ring and the watch?
The watch is a Garmin watches. That's a US company,
Hmm.
and all Garmin watches, down to probably $120 is good enough. So
Hmm.
this is accessible for. You could probably buy it secondhand also
Hmm.
if 120 is too much, but
Hmm.
it's available for everyone. The Aura Ring it's a
Hmm.
Finnish product. It's OURA, Aura Ring.
Yeah.
It's a Finnish product. They're very good for sleep. So the function on sleep and finding out how much REM sleep do you get, how much deep sleep do you get. That is by far the best for sleep.
I love
And then
that.
you have Whoop, also another American company,
Hmm.
with a great podcast. So they are quite good at research.
Hmm.
Whoop. A lot of people
That
use it.
W O.
Michael Phelps. Yeah, WHOOP. And they
Okay.
have a great podcast. Telling you everything about how to exercise, how to rest, how to sleep.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's now so much research on this. Almost in every condition you could think of. If you Google it,
Hmm.
plus heart rate variability, you'll
Hmm.
find lots of studies, because this is now, from being an overlooked thing about the autonomic nervous system, it's now
Hmm.
incorporated in so many studies, because it's so easy to get.
Hmm.
You just put on some some device, and then you will get the results.
And you
So
call that plus heart rate what?
yeah, heart rate variability. So what this
Variability.
yeah. So what they do is they measure the heart rate in milliseconds. And
Hmm.
when we are in a restful state,
Mm-hmm.
When we breathe in, the heart will beat faster to make advantage of the more oxygen in your lungs. It will beat a bit
Mm-hmm.
faster, just a tiny bit faster. And then when you breathe out, there's a bit less oxygen in your lungs. The heart will relax a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in a stressful state, it will beat at a very steady state all the time, like a clock, like a watch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that is the difference that these devices will pick up. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a restful state, the heartbeat will vary like a waveform on the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and in a stressful state, like a very very precise. So this is called heart rate variability, and this state of rest will save in a lifetime. It will save you for 350 million heartbeats.
Mm-hmm.
So from any moment to the next, it doesn't matter much, but over a lifetime, it will amount to like everything.
You know, at 71, I'm counting down. Most of the listeners are probably counting up still in life. But to get a few extra beats because I'm so excited to have this second chance at life, it's certainly something that I'm going to do.
Mm.
And I'm encouraging my listeners to at least consider it, right? Overcome your acorn brain that's telling you, "Oh, I'm not going to do all this stuff." Okay, keep doing what you're doing. Just don't expect a different result, as Einstein said.
Yeah. You must change in a small ways more things in your life. Just change the sleep a little bit, move a little bit more or less if you're overreaching, overtraining,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and less alcohol. Alcohol is very stressful. Alcohol is what Whoop, which is so good at the research, says that
Mm-hmm.
alcohol is by far the most stressful thing uh,
Mm-hmm.
for your nervous system. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
alcohol is like stress in a bottle. So it's
Mm-hmm.
that
A
is
lot of
what
people don't know
what
that.
I think the amount of people reducing their alcohol when people get the Whoop bans is like
Mm-hmm.
75%
Wow.
without being told. They just say, "Wow, is it this hard on the body? Okay, then I'll need to calm down." Because what's happening is that the alcohol in itself will calm you down, and
Mm-hmm.
then but the problem occurs after you fall asleep, because then alcohol is transformed into acetaldehyde, and that is very poisonous,
Mm-hmm.
and your liver and your whole body is struggling hard to get this poison out of your body while you're
Wow.
sleeping. So
Wow.
so uh, so it's
That's a
like
great way to look at it.
yeah. So it's a kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Well,
kind of
alcohol is marketed with two people sitting in a beach chair watching the ocean or on a balcony watching the sunset with a
yeah.
glass of wine between them.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually
Like
that's
it's
what
a
I
cure.
did. That's what I did as well, because I had a lecture for your friend Paul,
Mm-hmm.
on that day, I had that was my birthday actually, so I had like 3 or 4 glasses of wine, and the graphs, the curves from my watch show that I was really in a blissful state, and then
Mm-hmm.
in the night, terrible, terrible stress, So I had to go up in the swimming pool the day after to cool down. So
Mm-hmm.
what you can do, if you feel bad after too much alcohol, you can actually use the cold to get the inflammation down. The
Oh.
alcohol, what it does is it makes a lot of inflammation in your body, but with a long cold swim, you can get it
Mm-hmm.
down. So that would be the best thing for a hangover, would be a cold, really
Get
cold
over.
shower. Yeah, yeah. Cold,
Well, and the Iceman seems to be the roots for a lot of people who are doing the cold shower thing these days.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it
And
seems
Andrew,
to be coming more to
Andrew,
the forefront.
yeah, yeah. So and now what was considered alternative medicine,
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of it is now they find the evidence in the heart rate variability. They
Mm-hmm.
find that calming down your body in whatever way
Mm-hmm.
improves your immune system. So
Mm-hmm.
it's medicine in the way that it allows your innate immune system to work properly.
Hmm.
If you're
Well,
overstressed, you're keeping your immune system down, and then you need medicine,
well,
So,
a couple of things here for me. We need the book in English and get you on the Today Show or Good Morning America or Fox News, the 5 at night. We need to get you in front of the public. And
mm,
do you find it becoming more of a mainstream conversation? I mean, a lot of people have bought your book, so that has to help.
mm.
But are you finding it becoming more of a mainstream conversation with other medical professionals?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of other medical professions are taking this to heart, because they see, okay, because they can show that what they're doing is working.
Hmm.
If it's working, you will see the difference in the heart rate variability. If it doesn't
Hmm.
work, it will be the same. So um, the doctors, they are often on this a bit behind,
Hmm.
really. So
Hmm.
they haven't really caught up. Um, but uh, but uh, but but you will see the results at once. After 1 week using these instruments, you will see and feel and experience it yourself. So even if a lot of the good things is that it will lower the chance of getting cancer, getting heart disease, getting dementia, and a lot of these serious diseases, but you will also feel more wellness. You will feel more energy, more surplus energy. And then it's
Which,
easier to stay motivated. It's easier to motivate yourself for the cold shower when you see on the watch that it has a good effect on you.
hmm.
You know.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and that
because
extra
because it's
energy.
because this is kind of the inner sense that we don't have,
Hmm.
because our the threats have always come from the outside in our evolutionary history, from lions and snakes and other tribes,
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
our eyesight, our listening, our smell, our taste, our to tactile, to feel something,
Hmm.
has been prioritized because the dangers are from the outside, but now the dangers are from the inside,
Hmm.
from the inside, and we haven't developed a sense for this, So
Hmm.
this is kind of
It's true.
something that will, like a fever, like a thermometer, will this is like a sixth sense, for your system. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and I always tell my listeners to prove anything to themselves, to try something. I've been talking about self observation, for example. Just try it. Try observing what triggers you, who triggers you, and you don't have to do anything else because at some point in time, you'll clearly see the choices you've made by when you've reacted, and when you breathe and slow down, you'll find a response to a trigger instead of a reaction. And I
Mm.
encourage them to prove it to themselves. This is something that I really love about what you're talking about, is that they can prove it to themselves and they have some tools readily available to help them see the difference. I love that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people who are too much stressed out, who lead too stressful life are the ones who are not so good at paying attention to this. They are the ones who really need it. So some people are in tune with their bodies, yeah, but the ones who are the least in tune with their bodies, they really need it. And they are the ones they're so happy, with this book and this way of solving this, yeah.
I think both books, people should get both books and look at the camera cure if it's a fit for them. I happen to paint, but I used to take pictures, and I loved it. And you look at society today, the society's encouraging it with TikTok,
Hmm.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook posts, Twitter, which is now called X. People are out there taking photos
Yeah.
and uploading
Every,
them.
everybody's taking pictures now, and everybody's not only taking pictures, but they're publishers. They
Yeah,
see of their own pictures, on Facebook,
yeah.
on Instagram, on TikTok. So So when I started
Love
photography, when I was like 20 years old, traveling around the
it.
world, I was and coming home and to the like amateur photography society, it was like something that like, weird people did, going out taking pictures, going to develop it for a lot of
That was true in my
money,
time as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But that
Today it's
changed, with
not. It's
digital
more
photography.
mainstream.
Yeah, yeah, with your grandma or great grandma is photographing, and the kids, so the camera is always in your pocket now, and everybody knows how to do it. The technology is so nice that it will adjust for difficult lighting and so on.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that so that's why the camera cure is also so nice, because it's so accessible. Everybody has a camera. Everybody's used to doing it. You just have to use it in a more deliberate way. So
Yeah.
the camera cure is really 55 different exercises that
Hmm.
teaches you different aspects of problem solving.
Hmm.
How to, for example, to either take control or let the
Hmm.
control go. Can you control this situation? Because I see so many patients, they use so much energy trying to control something that can't be controlled. And that energy and time takes away from what they actually can control. And this is the same in
And time
photography
from
as
their
well.
life. And
Yeah,
time
yeah,
from their
yeah.
life.
And frustration. So this task, in the camera crew would be, okay, can you take control of the situation, and another can you let go of the control? Can you just see whatever happens, and
Hmm.
just to be aware of this aspect of control in your life, so can you control it? Yes, okay, then you do that. Can you not control it? Okay, let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Letting go is such value. There's something else that intrigued me was that you mentioned in the pulse cure, and maybe it's in the camera cure too, but that as you change your body as a result of the cure, the pulse cure, they people can feel more energized, and then it helps them lift out of depression and find the energy where they recognize the things they really love to do, and they find that calling or that thing that takes them away. And what holds them back is the lack of the energy to begin with. I mean, that's enough to
Yeah,
me, enough
yeah,
motivation to test it, to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, because they are kind of leaking energy. Because when you start using the devices, you see that you're leaking energy from activities that you didn't know
Hmm.
that this was leaking energy, sapping
Hmm.
you from energy that you need to produce, to perform. So
Hmm.
whenever you stop, it's like the tap just running. So whenever you find them and you stop these taps from just leaking, you
Hmm.
get more energy for what you really want to spend the energy. So
Hmm.
this is to be in balance. It's not to be lazy, or it's to be able to be balanced so that you can use the energy that you save for what you really want to spend it on. So for businesses, for leaders, businesses, this is gold.
Yeah.
That the leaders will be in balance. Well, they're better slept, better able to make decisions,
Hmm.
and their employees will, because a stressed leader will it's contagious. We actually have senses in our paranasal sinuses and in our skin for the stress level of other people. So when your boss comes in and have slept
Feel it.
poorly that night and is coming in, the stress will just dissipate all over the boardroom, so especially for leaders, especially for companies and businesses, this is millions, to be saved in sickness leaves, and also in productivity,
Hmm. So, Torkil, Dr. Torkil, how long does it take for people to notice it? So let's say people go out tomorrow and get the Aura Ring, the Garmin, the Whoop device. How
they
long does it
will.
take before they start to see a difference, that energy level, that it is truly making a difference? Because to me, what they're becoming aware of, it's
Mm,
part of self-observation. They're
mm,
becoming aware of where their body gets stressed, which could be
yeah,
due to triggers that they've trained themselves over the years to respond in a
mm,
certain way. But aside
mm,
from that, that's me trying to horn in here.
mm.
The is how long in your experience does it take where they start to see a
Very
difference?
very fast, within a week or two. Within a week or
Wow.
two, they will see where they're at. They
Yeah.
will and they will. I've not heard anyone who has not find anything surprising. So you will see where you're at, and of course a lot of people will see that. Oh, no wonder I feel so bad. No wonder I had this trouble. You see it. And
Yeah.
also that is something that helps them towards the doctor, because often there's no lab tests. They will go to the doctor and the doctor says it's all fine. We checked your liver and kidney and everything is fine, and your blood pressure is fine. But finally they see the result that, okay, this explains it. This tells me and my doctor why I have so much trouble, why I'm so often sick, why I don't feel the energy, and and then it can be a bit hard to find out, because then they have a much bigger job to do to disentangle the mess, but most people who are averagely stressed, they will immediately see that, okay, a late meal. If you go to a hamburger restaurant, for example, in a late meal, that will just destroy your sleep.
Hmm.
And then they will see at the next day, but then didn't have that, they will say, oh, this is good sleep, and they feel it, you know.
Hmm.
They just
Hmm.
never thought, of course, like I did, that it was the late burger that wrecked the sleep. Who would think that? So, so, so now with the instrument, they will say, "Oh, so this is a good night." And what did I do before that? Well, I did
Yeah.
this. Okay, well, let's try to do this again. And
Yeah.
this way, they quite fast that will find a way. But also somebody will say that no matter what they do, the autonomic nervous system is so so wrecked, so they off the charts. So they'll have a big job. No matter what they do, it's still pounding away at
Hmm.
a high level.
Hmm.
For somebody, it's a much longer way. They will take maybe months to clear up the mess. But most,
Hmm.
say, 80% of people will find a solution and improve their quality of life within a week or two. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. I can tell you, you mentioned
And
something
Paul, your,
about
your friend, Paul, our friend, he
Mhm.
said it. He uses the Apple Watch. Okay, you can also, a
Right.
lot of people use the Apple Watch, and
Right.
there's an app called Welltory,
Hmm.
Welltory,
Hmm.
that is also helpful. Not as
Hmm.
helpful as the Garmin watches and so on, but
Hmm.
absolutely,
Hmm.
it's helpful. Yeah.
Well, and when you mentioned blood tests and the standard testing, I had all those standard testing up until I was 50, which
Mm,
was the month before the event happened in 2018 on November 18th. I had all the normal blood tests, and
yeah.
none of that was showed up because I didn't even know I was stressed.
Yeah, and
People
I'm
would
I'm
say,
very sure
"How's
if
your
if you
stress
if you
level?" And
had
I'd
the
say, "I'm great."
yeah, and I'm sure if you had the watches, it will have been sounding big alarms. You would have the red curves, for months.
Were
And
people
what I
even talking about it 20 years ago, though? Were
yeah, yeah.
people even talking about it
No, they weren't
20 years?
talking about it. The doctors were not talking about sleep. They were not talking about diet. They were not talking about exercise. They were not talking about the circadian rhythm. They were not talking about what you could do to improve your health almost at all. We did
Yeah.
not learn anything about that in school and in doctor school. But now the knowledge is getting so fast out there, thanks to you podcasters, and that when the yeah, and that's probably a good thing about COVID, that there were so many podcasts
Yeah.
uh, growing up, and that medical
Yeah.
knowledge now is just pouring out, and it's not pouring out from the professors and down. It's not trickling down from the top. It's just spreading like wildfires among people. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're interested in health now, and just listen to like Mark Hyman or Peter Attia or Rangan Chatterjee, um, the Feel Better Live More podcast,
Mm-hmm.
to the Rich Roll podcast. So if you listen to a few of these podcasts over a month or so, you will learn more than most doctors know about these things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now you mentioned diet. Is there now? I'm sure with the tools people can self change their diet and notice the difference. But is there a diet or a regimen that you recommend, or what you've noticed for yourself? Anything you're
mm.
willing to talk about? We don't want
Yeah,
to start with
yeah.
Weight Watchers.
I
Uh,
actually found out. I found out that my curves were worse than I would expect. So
mm-hmm.
I took some extra, tests that the normal doctor, at least here in Norway, would not have. In their offices, you have to do it privately, and
Mm-hmm.
that showed that I have low tolerance for gluten and milk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So once I could get the bread out,
Mm-hmm.
white bread, bakery stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the milk products, it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier. So that
Mm-hmm.
was for me, and that's what a lot of people find as well. And sugar and fast carbohydrates, absolutely a trigger for so many people. And of course, really, when you see that this carb-rich meal is hurting me, obviously, with the
Mm-hmm.
numbers,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to not take that donut,
Cut
and
it out.
to take the apple instead of the donut, when you see the results immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Having
diet
less
is a big part of it. Yeah.
and having less than 10% of my pancreas, although what was remaining, the doctor could say, I don't know how much you have left, but he said, fortunately, it's in the tail. So you'll probably make some insulin. And I did for
Mm.
until maybe this year. I did
All
make
right.
some insulin. Now,
Mm.
now I'm categorized as type 1, but I have the devices that automatically monitor and they automatically
Yeah.
deliver the miracle of today. It
Yeah. Yeah.
automatically delivers
Yeah.
insulin.
I
But
have
I can
one as
tell you,
well. I have one as well.
oh,
Just
okay,
just the device,
the reader.
the continuous
Yeah,
glucose meter.
yeah.
And today, and on my Instagram, unfortunately, it's only in Norwegian, but
Hmm.
I also show the results. And today, I wanted to take 4 slices of bread. You know how long the blood sugar was elevated?
All
Five and a
day,
half hours.
five
Five
and a
and a
half
half
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
4 slices
Oh,
of bread with some cheese on it. And of course, when you see that, then you think you go for the eggs next time, eggs and nuts or
yeah.
something that doesn't raise the blood sugar so much, because insulin resistance and high blood sugar is a driver of many of these chronic diseases, chronic inflammation. So if you get control of your stress levels and control of your blood glucose, you're in a you're in a good place. So it's that's so insulin resistance and high blood sugar is really, they find now that cancer is a metabolic disease. They have been searching for the genetic code for it. They
Hmm.
haven't
Hmm.
found it, even with all the money that they put into it. But it
Hmm.
seems like it's the metabolic disease. It's the way that cells react. They regress into an ancient way. Is that
Hmm.
they regress to a state more like bacteria with
Hmm.
uncontrolled growth, and
Hmm.
it's the way that the differentiated cell reacts when it's metabolically imbalanced, with too much carbohydrates. So it
Hmm. Too
just
much
returns to
stimulation.
an old scheme, and,
Hmm.
and, and starts acting like an uncontrolled cell. So once you get control of your blood sugar, you really reduce the risk of cancer.
Yeah, I noticed even with a keto bagel or keto bread, I noticed that there's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour spike in my glucose reading, in my sugar reading,
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
glucose levels, and then if I ever right a few days ago I decided to just have the old fashioned everything bagel with some cream cheese, and that was 5 6 hours even
That's
with the
5 6 hours.
insulin added
Yeah.
in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The acorn brain takes me over every once in a while, and I
But
follow that thought.
the nuts inside the acorn, it's a lot of proteins, and fat, so it's and eggs, eggs are also great food, if you're a diabetic, because eggs is, and that's what the doctors were wrong, that they said that the eggs are cholesterol
Okay.
is dangerous for you. It's just not true, and it's almost obvious because the egg is everything that the chicken needs, to become a chicken. We are so related. We probably have like 70% of the genes or more in common with chicken. So of course it's a good nutrition for us humans as well. So
It has been most of my diet is eggs and nuts and salad and chicken.
great. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I learned that the hard way, and
Yeah.
when you have to use insulin every day, I track how
Mm.
much I'm loading into the device because it
Yeah, yeah,
automatically puts it in now. It's
yeah,
connected to the glucose reader,
yeah.
and I'm fascinated with diet led to much less insulin.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really get so. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so good that that you're sharing it and telling it to the world because your experience with the flatliner makes it so that it's like post-traumatic growth, you know
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but for everybody else, it's a post-traumatic growth by proxy,
yeah.
so
If they listen.
if they listen. But yeah, because one of the experiences of my childhood that I think has been in my mind every time since I was like 12, 13 years was I was reading, one of these women's magazines, these
Hmm.
stories from the reality, stories from life, and
Yeah.
one person said that only when I got diagnosed and I had half a year left to live, I understood what was important in life,
Wow.
and I thought, I'm not going to wait for that, and I'm going to find out now and do it, So it's the other person's post-traumatic growth became my post-traumatic growth as well, by learning about it.
Yeah, and that's my wish in my work, your work it ties in so well because it challenges the learned thinking, and then it challenges the acorn brain, the small-minded thinker that says, I'm not stressed, I just
Mm,
got to pour on, and if I
mm,
sleep 3 hours a day, I can
yeah,
work for 5 more hours a day, and
yeah,
I've met some people that say they
yeah.
can only sleep 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours a night.
Yeah. And the risk of dementia is super high, with that kind of sleep because you need the 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And what the doctors have found out is that in sleep, what's important is that the brain cells shrinks a bit so
Hmm.
that the how do you say the toxins or the work from the cell work from the day
Hmm. Hmm.
can get out. So all the
Wow.
brain cells shrink and makes what they call the glymphatic system that they didn't know existed until recently. That just
Wow.
the sift the way all the I'm not sure what they call it, if it's toxins or whatever the material after the day's work of the brain cells
Hmm.
goes out. The brain cells have so many mitochondria. So the mitochondria in the brain is 40% of the weight of the brain is mitochondria, and they are
Hmm.
working super hard, and
Hmm.
uh, and uh, and they wait until it's safe at night, evolutionary, to fix it. When
Hmm.
we were asleep, So if you're still awake and only letting 3, 4 hours, all this trash is in your brain. It just
Doesn't get out.
clogs up your brain, really.
Hmm. Well, that makes
So
sense to me.
sleep is number one. Yeah, it's most
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
I've done better with that in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
The another thought that came to me. You talked about the heart having, to gain so many more beats. It sounds like the engine in my car has 194,000 miles on it, and I take
Hmm.
good care of it, and it's running well.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
if we take good care of our heart, we're going to get more mileage out of it, so to
Yeah,
speak.
more mileage. Yeah. And the same with the car, as longer it gets, it needs more attention, it needs more care, to keep it running. So, and y- earlier we used to think that, okay, if you're like 70, it doesn't matter so much what you do, but now they say that then it's really what matters,
Really
then
matter.
then you really with adapting this good lifestyle will like double the rest of your life, and in years. So there's recently been a research from American veterans. More than
Hmm.
700,000 American veterans have been followed for like 30 years,
Hmm.
and they found out the ones that did the good lifestyle things that's in the
Hmm.
Pulse Cure, and other places,
Hmm.
lived 24 years longer than the ones who
Wow.
did not do them, you
Wow.
know. So
Wow.
there's a it's not just a half year or a year or two. It's a substantial amount of extra healthy years also, So a lot of people think, when I talk about longevity, they say, "Oh, well, who would want to live so long? You see, you're just in the old people's home, or I don't know what you call it anyway, in the bed, just being in a vegetative state, But that's not true, In my, if you keep your health, you're healthy longer. Your health span is also longer, as well as your years. So,
Yeah,
so
the enjoyable years because you've taken care of it. It makes a lot of sense, right? It sounds like very common sense that
yeah,
take care of yourself and you'll live even into old age working relatively well, right? The
yeah,
mechanics of this body is very similar to anything else that's mechanical. I mean,
yeah.
we're not mechanical, but it takes a similar approach.
Yeah, you must have a strong heart, you must have a clean pipes, with the blood,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
arteries, and if you
Hmm.
do that and keep your arteries clean and your heart strong, and your muscles, also your muscles, because they see that when you use your muscles, you are releasing something called myokines. You're releasing
Hmm.
proteins that works in your brain to make better connections. So
Oh.
everything in the body is connected,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
when you make sure that you have muscles, it's the
Hmm.
best thing for your brain as well.
I
So
love that.
so
I love that. Partly because I started going to the gym regularly in January,
yeah,
not
yeah.
after New Year's because a lot of people commit as a New Year's resolution. But I joined last September and I said I'm going to wait until like the middle of January, and I did, and I've been going 5 6 days, some weeks 7, some weeks 3, depending on my schedule. But it's been fascinating how much
Hmm.
better I feel.
Yeah, yeah. You feel better, because a lot of what we call mental disease, or depression and so on, it's the way that your brain cells, it's the symptoms of brain cells that are not healthy.
Right.
You don't get pain in your, like, in other cells you will get pain, but your brain has no pain receptors, or so like brain fog, being, in a low mood, that
Mm-hmm.
is that is your brain on a bad gasoline, it's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so once you start using your body, once you start improving those cells, these
Mm-hmm.
things lift away. So that's why exercise and movement is some of the best things to do against depression or any mental symptoms, really.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, the camera cure is available in English.
yeah, but it's not. We have translated it, and we have
Mm-hmm.
also very soon translated the Pulse Cure, just
Uh-huh.
in 1 or 2 weeks. But we
Mm-hmm.
haven't found a publisher yet, so we're
Mm-hmm.
searching for a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
This publisher in Norway is the biggest Norwegian publisher. So
Mm-hmm.
it comes from a big publishing company here. So in
Mm-hmm.
the big book fair in Frankfurt,
Mm-hmm.
later in October, we hope to find publisher for it. We're
Good.
actually just in 1 month releasing also something called the Pulse Cure Journal. So it will
Oh,
look
great.
very
You
much
made
like the
notes.
Pulse Cure, but it's a
Yeah.
journal where you can write in your numbers. You can
Yeah.
make a plan for the day. Yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
the evening you write how the day went, and you write the numbers that you get, from
Mm-hmm.
the devices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think it's very useful to write down and get some overview of what is helping you, and then
Yeah.
it's also a book where you because it's all about habits.
Mm-hmm.
So your
Mm-hmm.
habit of going to the gym, to start small, manageable, sustainable habits that you can
Mm-hmm.
have for a long, long time, for many
Mm-hmm.
years. So in the Posture Journal, it's also the suggestions for habits for every like 4 weeks period where you test the habit and see
Mm-hmm.
how does it change your readings.
I love that
So I think it's an
because people
important
can
tool.
prove it to themselves, and that
Yeah.
is, then people own it. They own the idea.
Yeah.
I love that approach, and I recommend
Mm.
it
Mm.
to everybody who listens. And
Yeah.
I
So I
hope we
really just
double.
hope that
I
we'll
hope we
find
double our
the
listen.
find the publisher. Yeah, yeah. It should be because yeah, I think the same way that it has been embraced by people here in Norway, it would
Mm-hmm.
be also in other countries. And this is actually the world's first how-to guidebook on how to use these ones. We searched for it, we could not find it. That there is another guidebook like this on the subject. So
Well, and for Americans, we're so device orientated. I mean, people are
yeah,
lining up at the
yeah,
Apple stores for hours waiting for the
yeah, yeah,
next device, and they were doing that for the last device. So
yeah.
I think that this is a natural for this
Mm.
society
Yeah.
because we love the different devices, or
Yeah,
at
and
least
this
our
is
device.
artificial intelligence. So
Yeah.
this is artificial intelligence that uses your heartbeat to find the state in your body. They have collected readings from millions of people, of Americans,
Mm-hmm.
and have found out. So you use your intelligence because you have to use the readings in your life, to use,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what's happening in my life, and then
Mm-hmm.
compare it with what the artificial intelligence tells you that the artificial intelligence know and you don't know, and you combine it with what you know, and the watches don't know. So this
Mm-hmm.
combination is a really important thing
Mm-hmm.
to be able to improve your life, to be able to improve your health and take responsibility of your health. And in Norway, healthcare is free. So even if you get sick, it's
Mm-hmm.
only bad for your body, but not your wallet. But for Americans, being able to not use the healthcare system is so expensive. I've heard that you can really get ruined by getting sick. So it's a
Yeah.
lot more at stake. So it's just a kind of an insurance to keep you fit, to keep you healthy, over a long,
It's
long
not
time.
another good reason to use it. I mean, once I'm at the Medicare age, and so I'm only liable for a certain level. I think it's $8,500 in total each year. But still, for
Yeah.
some, I'm not retired. I'm not retiring. John Maxwell is one of my
Mm.
certifications. I love his work, and he says you don't retire from a calling, right? Which to your point about finding the things we love to do, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing this until maybe I'm on a podcast and somebody says,
Yeah.
Steve, oh my, he passed
Yeah.
to what's next. Because I call it what's next. I don't call it death because
Mm.
it was
Yeah.
literally 1 second here, the next second,
Mm.
one with
Yeah.
everything and nothing.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I love what you're doing, and I think it really is a great fit for America. And I'll be mentioning it to everybody I know.
Oh,
I'm going to
thanks a
put
lot.
it on my Twitter page. As soon as you're ready,
Mm.
I'll post it. Now I don't have a million followers.
I
I have
made it, and yeah.
11,500, but what I like to do is if one person can get help
Mm.
or two people,
Yeah.
because that multiplies. Because to your point,
Mm.
they talk about it and it becomes from the ground up the
Mm.
change.
Yeah. And I also made, I made the lecture I held for Paul because I held a lecture at this retreat in Mallorca, and
Yeah.
Paul said, "Oh, everybody should know about this, And the lecture I have made on YouTube, so I can give you
Okay.
the YouTube, so then you can
Yeah.
see the lecture, and it's in
Yeah.
English, that will
I'll publish the link.
explain more hands-on how to use
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Well, I'm really grateful that I got to know you on a different level. I'd like to um, say that maybe we could do this a few times a year until I'm 90 or 95 or 100, whenever I get called home again,
yeah, because he
because
was
we
never
can compare
retired.
notes.
That was what I wanted to say. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. You don't want to retire. The
No.
retiring is dangerous. You really need to. You maybe need to adapt to the amount of work, but you should never retire. And if you want to retire from a job, you're in the wrong job. So so so
That's
it's
true.
you need to rather just work at the level that is sustainable at any given age, but never
Yeah.
stop. And the blue zones, you probably heard of the blue zones. It's
Sure.
the places in the world where people live the longest. They don't
Yeah.
retire. They keep. I just saw this today
I
on
saw a
on
picture that you
Instagram.
had in there with the blues in the camera cure.
Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So it's
so say a little more about that.
the
They're
the
working all
blue.
their life in the
Yeah, yeah.
blues.
In the
Yeah.
blue zones, they work all their lives, and I saw today a picture of a 107-year-old barber.
Wow.
So
That
so
is
they
great.
so one thing about the blue zones. So the blue zones is what the adventurer Dan Buettner found. He said, let's do reverse engineering. So this
Hmm.
is what the medical society has been so poor at. If you have
Hmm.
survived like a deadly disease or something, they're
Hmm.
not interested. You're just an anecdote. You're an outlier. You don't fit in.
Hmm.
So it was, of course, it was not the doctor who found out how to do things. This reverse engineering. He said, okay, in which places in the world do people live the longest? And he found
Start
these
with that.
zones, and he just ringed it around with blue. That's why they call blue zones. It's just on the world map. You just put the
Hmm.
blue ring around it. So they're in
Hmm.
Sardinia, they're in Icaria in Greece, they're in Loma Linda in California, they're in
Hmm.
Costa Rica, they're in some places in the world.
Hmm.
And what they have in common, is the things from the pulse cure.
Hmm.
They move, they sleep, they do meaningful things. They have a reason to wake up in the morning. They
Hmm.
rest. They eat mostly plant-based food,
Hmm. Hmm.
drink little alcohol,
Hmm.
and live kind of in a natural rhythm within nature. Because also being in touch with nature is also very important. There are the trees. They release particles
Hmm.
that we take in and use, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of research showing that the nearer, the closer you live to green space, the healthier
Hmm.
you are, also mentally. So
Hmm. Hmm.
so uh, so there's a lot to learn from these outliers who live so long, and one of them is don't retire. So maybe when you're 90, we will still be talking here. I love that. It's been a really great conversation. I've been looking forward to this to talk to you. So it's
Me too. Me too.
yeah,
Me
yeah.
as well. So, where can people get the book now if they can read Norwegian?
If they can read Norwegian, they can probably find it. I think on we have a website called pulskuren.no,
Hmm.
which is Pulskuren is the pulse cure in Norwegian. I
Hmm.
think we will try to make an English page there where I will make this lecture that I told you about, and maybe some
Yeah.
other courses as well, because we don't have the rights to release the English book,
Okay.
but I would have the right to make
An
a
English
video
page.
course, a
Mm-hmm.
video course
Mm-hmm.
that I should be
Mm-hmm.
able to make within a couple of months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually recording a video course right now in Norwegian, and I could translate it and make an English version of it. I should
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
be able to do that
I, I,
within
I
like
look
3 months.
I look forward to that, and I'll publish that and share it with as many people as I can, and my friends and loved ones especially. And then before we go, I do have we'll edit this little piece out, but you have to leave your window open on your computer until Riverside tells you it's complete.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've tried this
Other
before.
than
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I lose
Yeah.
your track.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it's just me talking with nobody answering.
Yeah. 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 That would be fun.
All right, so we'll go back because we're going to cut that piece
Mm.
out. So,
Yeah.
um, Dr. Torkil, tell us something. Leave the audience with a message that you think is really critical.
The really critical message is that you can be in charge of your health. You can do smart things that makes your life better in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
in the here and now, but also makes the chances of living a long life and a good life, possible. It is possible. We know now what to do. Yeah. So no, the knowledge is out there.
Yeah, well, and for me, is to add in a life filled with energy because you're taking care of your body, which that energy gives you the extra uh, uh, what's required to do what you love, right? So that if you don't have the energy and you're feeling low and depressed, your brain is telling you, and we've talked about this a little bit, the acorn brain is telling you, skip it today. And you don't feel like doing it. And maybe you believe some of the thoughts that say, who you? You're not entitled, you don't deserve it. All that crazy thought that is not true.
Mm.
And I've had those thoughts. I confess that to my audience all the time. And so finding that extra energy can be a great motivator, which you talked about. And I think that is also part of it. And I'm really grateful that I found you through Paul and you found me and that you're
Yeah.
doing this work. I really think it's important. And whatever I can do in my lifetime, what's remaining, I'm going to make
The 20
sure.
years.
Well, I'm getting the devices
Yeah.
and the Aura
Yeah.
Ring and the Whoop Watch
Yeah. The
and
most important is the Garmin. Okay,
the
the
Garmin.
most
Okay.
important and cheapest also
Hmm.
is the Garmin. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the Garmin and the Aura Ring, and
Mm.
I'll update you as
Yeah,
to
fantastic, fantastic. Yeah.
what
It's
I
been great
discovered.
talking to you.
Yeah.
So
So, everyone, we're going to end this video, and we're grateful that we met Dr. Torkil. You're going to be grateful, and his name. If you will say it again in Norwegian, I love it.
Torkil Faero.
Fado, right? And I didn't say it right. Dr. Fado, it's been a pleasure. I'm so grateful we met, and I'm going to help and do whatever I can. I don't have the 4 million audience, but maybe it'll happen together.
Yeah, thank you so much, so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. All right, doctor. Now I have to find. Here we go. Leave studio. And if you stay on,
Don't stay, don't leave. Yeah.
don't close. Right. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it either. I learned the hard way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the
Thank
worst
you.
thing, when you do. I've been on the podcast. I was ruined, then it was, it hurts. Because you
It's
put
a
so much
learning
into
curve.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm going to send you the information on Jennifer
yeah,
Carey. She's
yeah,
got a
yeah,
great podcast. I'll send you the link to it, and you can tell me yes or no
yeah,
if you want to meet her. I think
yeah,
it's a fit, but I'm leaving that to
yeah.
you.
I'm sure I would.
Okay.
So that would be great. Yeah. And
All
so
right.
I'll send you also the link to the YouTube lecture. Also, I'll send you.
Yeah. I have one link.
Yeah, but
That's probably.
it's to Canva. So now I put it up today. I put it up on
Oh,
YouTube.
Okay.
so that you
Okay.
can. It's available there. So
All right. Send me that link.
yeah.
You'll see when I get this edited, you'll see this and you'll see it on the podcast and hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you again.
Very good. Thank you.
Bye.